Yay!
Yo.
Welcome to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. There are only two of us, but there could potentially be three of us. How's it going, Adam?
It's going pretty good, man. Going pretty good. Let me get this thing shared here over on X. Let's see.
Yeah.
I don't even remember how to do this. It's been so long.
We'll get it.
Going good. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Work's been pretty great, I think. Get a lot of, and I say I think because like the working with the people is awesome.
Yep.
But it's still a job. So when I'm not working with people walking in, it's still annoying. But it's been pretty good, man. Had a buddy reach out to me last week and said he knew a guy that was struggling and he was wondering if he could give him my number. And I said, of course. And so a couple of days later, the dude shows up at work. We explored some things.
Cool.
I guess he didn't sign up for services, but that's okay. He's gonna go get some help on Monday through his doctor.
Nice.
I'll just leave it at that. So I'm not saying too much of his story, but
yeah.
I said, hey, I'll reach out every day if that's what'll help, and that's what I've been doing. And so it's always really cool to see people on their own making the choice to try to kick the habit.
Cool, man. That's awesome. I'm glad you get to work in something where you get to see and make an impact every day.
It's nice. Nice to have a chance, but there's just so many, when you go through work, there's so many loopholes, man. That's why I want to kind of create something on the side here to really reach out and touch someone. I really want to create this thing and have it ready made. So, you need this? All right. Well, let's go here and we'll be able to provide you a way to find help wherever you're at. But more on that coming.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with because I know you started off with wanting to be able to get people to treatment, and so
that's been the biggest obstacle at work when people come in and they want to go into residential.
Yeah,
the biggest obstacle is there's a saying addicts have a license but no car, and alcoholics have a car but no license.
That's right.
And so that's wrong pretty true. And so you might have a vehicle but you can't drive yourself there. You might have you might have a vehicle but you don't have a license, and so you can't get yourself there. So that's a real chore.
Yeah,
so
sure.
And Ubers and Lyfts, they're basically non-existent anymore around my area. There just wasn't there's not enough people. There's not enough to keep people making money. So it's really hard. We have an app where we can go on, our company is hooked up with Uber, and you just click a link and request a ride. But if nobody's around,
Right. Does your county have some type of transportation? So, I live in the part of the county that I live in is pretty rural, and I would say for the most part, it's a rural county. There's a lot of the Atlanta suburbs. It's basically like suburbs of the suburbs are starting to encroach into where we are on the south end of the county. But Jackson County still has, if you got to get to an appointment or something, you can call It's not. I guess it's like the transportation department, and they've got people that will come out and get you to doctor's appointments and get you to medical appointments. So
Yeah, we have things around there. I mean, people are able to come into our facility, by getting rides. There's a transportation if you live in town. There's buses that are going around the clock. They have the same schedule all the time. But our residential facility is 2 hours from us, and so that's where we run into hiccups.
Gotcha.
Because it's down south, and we're kind of in the middle of the mitten.
Gotcha. Yeah, man. There is no bus service in the county I live in.
Yeah, we are actually in a great spot. If people can make it on a bus from wherever they're at or get a ride to catch a bus, we are right next door to the bus station. So,
yeah.
That's we awesome. Have a really great location. Like even the people that are going over to the jail, like it goes us, bus station, courthouse. So they can just walk over from the courthouse.
You're one stop.
I got sentenced today. I need to do this.
Here's my paperwork.
Yeah, that's what it is, dude. Yellow piece of paper. Here come people with their yellow piece of paper from their PO.
I'm laughing only because I've had to do that.
Yeah.
I've had to get them signed too. So.
I signed so many sheets.
Yeah.
I'll throw this out there for anybody that's listening, and I don't know what the demographic is because it doesn't say who's listening on X. So I don't know if we have people that are in long-term recovery, just starting out or thinking about it, listening. But I posed this question to my groups last week. First, I went around and I asked everybody, I'm like, how are you feeling about your sobriety, your recovery right now? How are you feeling about that? And I went around the room and everybody's like, oh, great. What do you guys think about using again? I never want to again. And so then after we got all those answers out of the way, then I came back and I said, okay, so think about this. The people that are watching over you, and the reason why I say watching over you could be your spouse, could be your children, could be, your parents. There's a guy that lives with a sister right now. Mm-hmm. I said, if those people weren't there to watch you and you had a week off and you had money in your pocket, would you use or drink? If they were gone for a week and you knew they wouldn't be back, you knew you weren't going to get drug tested for a week and you had money in your pocket, would you use? And believe it or not, some people's ideas changed. Well, wait a minute. Man, I guess I could, because it's like, so you really have to look back and look, why are you doing this? Like, I'm doing this for my kids. I'm doing this for my loved ones. I'm doing this to get these people off my back. And then you really explore, like, well, fuck, if I could get away from it. And I told them too, I was like, man, if I had a week to myself and a bunch of extra money in my pocket, I don't know. I mean, I want to say that I wouldn't do something stupid, but the last time I had extra money in my pocket and was alone for a week, I don't even remember that.
Yep.
Or for a weekend even. I don't remember that. I'm always with somebody. So.
Yeah. And I think it's important to know that about yourself too, because it's been, I would say it's been a good 3.5 years or so that I have been in those situations. Probably prior to that, 3.5-4 years ago, I was not left alone. I was sober, but there was no chance in hell that anybody around me was going to take off and go on a weekend trip and leave me somewhere. And that goes back to that we've talked about before, those underlying beliefs that allow you to do things. And the one for me I keep coming back to was, it's okay as long as I don't get caught. And so that's like the perfect setup for somebody who believes that. It's like, well, shit, ain't nobody gonna be here for a week or a weekend or 12 hours. It's okay as long as I don't get caught. And I knew how much I could drink volume wise per percent of whatever it was. So, if it's 95 proof or if it's 45 proof or whatever, I can't remember if I'm saying that right now. Yeah. I knew how much I could drink and how long it would take that to get out of my system so that, by the time somebody was around to catch me, I would be able to blow clean. And I totally did that for a long time. And being able to admit that to yourself is a huge, huge achievement. It's a good place to be in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you can get there and kind of understand that. I mean, but again, it's amazing, right? So you had it calculated down to how long it would take.
Yeah, man. So there were times, I'm sure at some point my parents are gonna end up seeing this, but I knew that I could drink. Well, see if I can remember how many I could drink. So I had to blow in the SoberLink thing like every 4 hours at one point. So like a breakfast, a lunch, 3 o'clock or 4, I think 4 o'clock, and then bedtime, 8 o'clock. So every 4 hours. I could drink, I think, 3 Pink Whitney mini bottles, which it's like a 32%. You know, it's not a normal 80 proof drink.
Yeah.
But I could drink 3 of those and be just clearing it out of my system in 4 hours. And I played that game for a long time.
Yeah.
Long time. Yeah, I mean that was so much work, because I know I've mentioned the ice thing before, but I would make sure that I had like ice I could put in my mouth along with ice water, and like if it wasn't coming down exactly when I needed it to, I'd be using that trick, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it was. You look back and you think back on it, you're like,
and what did those?
Oops.
Yeah, what did those 3 little bottles do for you?
Not a damn thing.
Yeah.
Not just ooh.
It makes no fucking sense, dude. I remember when I was blowing that many times, one time I took a half pint of peppermint schnapps and slammed it, and got a little bit of a buzz, felt okay, and then the fear and anxiety kicked in, and it was not worth it. And it's like,
yeah,
it didn't do anything for you. What the fuck you doing, man?
Yep, absolutely.
But it's crazy if we could apply that kind of energy on other things. But
yeah, and you can. I mean, I think eventually you do. I think when you get to a certain level, I hate using the word level, but when you mature enough in your sobriety, I think you start realizing that you can take that that obsessiveness and kind of transmute it into a different type of positive energy. It's not the same quantity, or it's not the same quality of energy. It's the same, like kind of the same type. You can take that energy and go do something and really dive into it, kind of like I did with wood turning for a long time. Like I was zeroed in, turning every day for hours after work and stuff. But it's a different kind. It's not a negative obsessive where I've got to have this, I've got to have this, I've got to have this. It's I really enjoy doing this and I want to get better. And I'm going to watch all these videos on it. I'm going to go down and I'm going to practice. And you can transmute that energy into something positive. It's entirely doable.
Yeah.
So, well, how many people we got listening? Can you tell?
19 people checking it out. Thank you all for being here for that.
Yeah, I know I used to, when we used to do these things, I used to see the count, but I don't see them anymore.
Yeah, well, I have to change that after here. I still looked at it today. You're admin, so you should be able to see shit.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe I need to log in somehow. Oh well. I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, well, I got you linked already, so you got some people watching through your feed.
Oh wow. Well, look at there.
Yeah.
People love me after all.
One of those 2 that are watching you is XRP. So
yeah, I'm telling you what, man. Telling you what.
This motherfucking Adam. I got my big book.
I said he always tries to blame me or falsely accuse me of charging people for advice and helping them out. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, the only thing I've ever charged is your attention. You seem to pay me an awful lot of it.
Oh, dude, he's got all kinds of time on his hands. Just look at him.
Yeah.
Douchebag. So anyway,
Anyway,
the title of this was Spirituality and Religion. I think we talked on this a couple times. Maybe we haven't devoted a lot of time to it, but I think we've talked about enough. I think anybody that's listened to more than one podcast heard me say that the spirituality and religion part for me was really hard to wrap my mind around and really get involved in AA in the beginning because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, it wasn't until I really embraced who I was that things started to change. And who I am was not somebody that believes in any religion that's out there. That's who I am. I want to believe, I really do. If Odin came down and tried to poke my eye out, and then I'd be like, all right, dude, go ahead, because you're Odin. You know what I mean? That's a stupid fucking thing. That's the dumbest thing I've ever said. But if Odin came down and I was talking with Odin and he's like, hey, I'm Odin, watch this. Here's my wolves. Here's my ravens. Here's my one eye. Here's, Mimir's well or whatever. I would be like, wow, this is so awesome. See, I just go right into it, dude. I wouldn't do that I wouldn't do that for the Bible God, because I've read the Bible and I don't like it. So with him, I would be like, wow, you're real. Okay. I believe that you are real, but I'm not going to follow you. So anyway, but it wasn't until I embraced that about myself, instead of trying to look for all these little things, I'm going to go look for a rock. If I find a rock that sticks out, that's a sign from whoever. If this song plays, looking for angel numbers on the clock, all these things, you're looking for all these signs and it wasn't until I was just become comfortable with myself that the change really started to happen. Yeah. And so the spirituality and the religion part of this really screwed me up.
Yeah. I got you. Something very similar for me. I was raised in a Christian faith. We weren't super church going people. It's not like we were at church most Sundays, but some days it would be a Methodist church. Some days it would be a Southern Baptist church. Some days it would be just a, what do they call it? A non-denominational. So, I wasn't steeped in a certain denomination, but some things never set right with me. And I just kind of let them sit there and I knew something's wrong, at least as far as my the way I thought about it. But it wasn't until after I got sober and started on this journey of self-improvement and self-development that I began to question some of that stuff. And for me, just like you, being able to accept the fact that, what, I don't believe the way I'm supposed to believe. That was kind of the underlying thought there for a long time that I never would admit to myself. When I finally admitted, I don't believe what they believe, and it's okay that I don't believe what they believe.
Yes.
And so for me, that was just lots of underlying tension and not really anxiety, but just, stress, I guess, kind of went away. So I think it's really important for everybody. And I say this quite often on X is, you've got to, at some point in your life, if you're ever going to, whether or not you're trying to get sober or not, if you're going to develop and grow as a person, you've got to question the beliefs you have and examine them from all perspectives and angles to determine if what you hold as a belief is something you truly believe. Because so many times we just accept what are given to us. We just accept it because that's what we were taught.
Yeah.
It's the Ender's Game author, Orson Scott Card. So one of his, and I think it's actually in Ender's Game, but it says, the quote is, "We question all our beliefs except those we hold most dear and those we never think to question."
Right.
So you've got to question your beliefs and understand why you believe them.
There are 3 areas in life and there's probably more, but there's 3 that I think that stick out like a sore thumb when it comes to exploring your beliefs and how you really need to do it to really get a grasp on it. Recovery,
Yeah.
politics, and religion.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
and you said, this is
something we're not supposed to talk about, right?
well, right. The 3 things that nobody wants to talk about because everybody is so emotionally attached to these things. Why do you think, that's why we get heat like we do from some of the gatekeepers of AA because they're emotionally attached and they don't want to challenge that because they're comfortable where it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's why you can't talk. I've slipped some things out on X on politics here and there. And then I was like, I'm just going to be myself. But then I'm like, you know what? The greater good here is talking recovery and try to send a positive message. So I've reeled back on that and it went up like 100 and some followers in like a day.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and by looking at some of these people that are following me now, and I don't look at everybody, but they absolutely would be a quick unfollow if I talked about my political views. And that shouldn't matter because I think our message is pretty decent for when it comes to recovery, but that's what people do. And so, and it's really hard to talk about these things. It's really hard to talk about spirituality, religion, and it's really, we're going to leave politics over there. But it's really hard to talk about those things because people will think that you're being mean or you're
Right.
I don't, why are you hating on it? I'm not hating on it. I just don't believe what you believe.
Yeah.
And I am open to having a discussion and you provide me with why you believe and I'll consider it. And then I will either choose to believe. Well, you can't choose to believe. Okay. That's one thing. Let's just get that out there for a second. And that's what I was trying to do. You cannot choose to believe in anything. You either believe it or you do not. I can't just be like, yes, I believe that God is real. If I don't really do that, I can say it all I want, but I don't really believe. You know what I'm saying? Like It goes back to the angel numbers thing. Mm-hmm. It's like Miley and I, we always text each other when we see 1, 2, 3, 4. That's like our thing, and we see it all the time.
Oh, is that like 11:11? People on?
Yeah, 11:11. 444, that type of thing, and we do that. And the reason why we see 12:34 so much is because we're fucking looking for it. Like I'm not checking my phone to say, hey, is it 12:30? Oh, I'm going to sit here and wait for 12:34. No, I probably see 11:10 as much. I probably see 2:37 as much. But because I'm looking for it, my mind's saying, oh, there it is.
Yeah, exactly. And we've talked about that exact concept in the context of recovery called the reticular activating system, which is your brain's filter. Your brain is being bombarded with like trillions of data points every day, and it can't take in everything and process it all. So the reticular activating system basically filters what you have subconsciously decided that you need to know in order to survive. Some of that is for legit physical survival. Some of it's for emotional survival. Some of it is for mental and for your job and for your kids and being able to see the deer that's about to jump out in front of you as you're going to work in the morning. But you can use that reticular activating system and you can begin to change it and program it to pick up on other things. And the angel numbers are a perfect example. I use the example all the time when I'm trying to explain it to somebody is, if you want a red Tesla S, you're going to start seeing red Tesla S's. Like, man, they're everywhere now. Everybody's got one. Like, no, not everybody's got one. It's just now that you're aware that that's what something you really want. Now your brain's going, all right, cool. Be on the lookout. It's like you put a bolo out for whatever it is that you are priming it with.
Yeah.
So I mean, sidebar there.
No.
But so going back to spirituality versus religion, I came across. Well, hold on. Let me get back to that. There was one thing that I wanted to bring up for this that I forgot to do today. Greg Braden has a fantastic video on YouTube about the genetics of belief in a God. So there's this theory out there. We've talked about Anunnaki and stuff before, and that train of thought and how humans came about from that perspective. But there is, if you look at the human genome, there is a gene in there that scientists are starting to believe is one of the splices. So if you look at our human genome, the second gene has been cut and deactivated and spliced with another gene to create the ability for us to have speech. Well, there's one that they've kind of identified that is like that. It was cut and spliced with another one of our genes, and they believe that is the one that gives us the drive to want to believe in a higher power or in a God. So it's very fascinating. I'm not saying it's true, so if anybody out there is thinking, I'm about to get struck by lightning, I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying it is very fascinating. Oh, you're muted.
It's all fascinating, is what I was saying. And with my mute mic, it's like, I think learning about when I started reading like the Poetic Edda, I was reading it just because it was fascinating. Like, people believe in this. Like, people believe that Odin, Freya, Freyr, Thor, that there's some place where these dudes are, and they're fighting giants, and they're trying to put a monkey wrench in Ragnarok.
Right. Yeah.
And it's interesting. I like learning about these other things. You know what I mean? Like, I learned something. I learned the other day that like the Jewish belief system is the Old Testament, and Christianity is the New Testament. And it was like a really simple way of looking at it. Yep. And I was like, wow.
So if you want to go down a crazy rabbit hole, and this gets closer to my own personal beliefs, but there are some people out there that believe the God that is referenced in the Old Testament is not the God that Jesus Christ references in the New Testament. Even though when Jesus was giving his message, he was preaching to Jews, and so therefore it all got confused. And I'm sure, Jesus went with it. He's like, all right, cool. You guys think I'm talking about your God? I'm just trying to get my message out there. Yeah. And believe it or not, Judaism was a polytheistic religion. I can't remember the exact date, but it was always polytheistic until one particular king got into power. What was his name? I'm sure somebody in here is gonna pop up with a name. But anyway, one of the kings got together with one of the priests of a specific god, Yahweh, and said, you know what? Why are we letting everybody else collect taxes? We're gonna have all the taxes. And so they basically, we use the term whitewash, but they Yahweh washed Judaism, rid of all the other gods, and said Yahweh is the Jewish God, and that's how it became monotheistic. So that's another rabbit hole to go down.
I'm down. Did you see the comment from Hide Hope over on the side there? I'll let you maybe if you can, asking about the study you were talking about.
About the genes? Is that what they're referencing?
Yeah, I think so. If you want clarification, go ahead and post that again. But polytheistic is more than one God, just in case anybody was unaware of that. And when you read the Old Testament, and this isn't supposed to be a Bible study, but if you read it, it's referenced many times that there are other gods. These people over here in this country, we're going to go attack them because they believe in false gods, or they believe in other gods. And one of the commandments is thou shalt have no other gods before me. So yes, the gene one.
Yes, Gene. You know what? I'll see. Let me just put a note up here, and I'm just going to.
Well, you do that. Let me go ahead and read the definition of religion and spirituality, and we can kind of go from there on that. So religion, the definition according to the interwebs, is the belief in and worship of a superhuman power or powers, especially a god or gods.
Okay.
Spirituality is the quality of being concerned with human spirit or soul, as opposed to material or physical things. Interesting. The quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul, as opposed to material things. So if I'm a spiritual person, I'm trying to feed my soul, or trying to better my soul, or
Yeah.
Inner workings. I guess I could see that.
Yeah. I can see now that this is going to be a tough conversation to have without speaking within the context of different religions and different personal beliefs and comparing and contrasting, which I'm okay doing. So I heard a really great quote. It was yesterday or the day before. I think it was yesterday. But basically, it's like, people get all wigged out on spirituality because they're trying to do all these other things. And what you realize is that spirituality is just a way of doing life on easy mode. It's a way to have less stress, less anxiety. It's a way to align with, your purpose in life and to be a quote unquote good person.
Right.
Religion, on the other hand, takes all these different spiritual ideologies and then puts a system around the messenger.
Yeah.
That idea.
Yeah. Spirituality to me is like, your connections, your way, and how it's useful to you and the environment around you. Religion, there's this is what you do, and this is how you do it, and this is when you do it. It's like instructions. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, here's the thing with religion is that anytime, this is my personal belief, anytime man tries to put a system or a construct around something that is inherently natural, is inherently personal, it is to wield power over that person. It's to wield power over the mass of people. Okay, because what Catholicism does is it takes the personal connection with God and then routes it through the church, through the different levels to the Pope, where the Pope is the only person who has the connection with the God. That's the big split between, Catholicism and Protestants. But even then, Protestantism takes your personal connection with God and, just like Catholicism, puts all these rules into place that you have to really take certain scriptures and read them within a certain context and try to find a way to justify your rule. And so again, that's about control. It's about power over another. So that's my big thing with beef with religion.
I think that's great. Like I could take what you just said there and say I agree with you, and I could easily say religion to me feels like control, spirituality to me feels like freedom.
Yes,
that's how it feels to me.
The I guess the comparison I always make right there within a recovery context. I guess both canceled tonight. How about that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, that's one reason why I broke away from traditional recovery.
Yeah.
You can't answer my question without using circular logic, and you can't give me a straight answer. I'm going to go find it on my own. That's part of the post I put on X about agency this morning. I believe in personal agency, and traditional recovery does not. So it's just fundamental differences in the force court.
Yeah. So I think. Oh, go ahead. We'll invite Belle here in a second. We'll get her on. So if you're listening right now and you have the means to do so, find the post that we had on X, if you would, when you get a chance. What do you think of when you hear the word spirituality? And let me know what you think. Because for me, what pops in my head is moonlight, starry night, frogs croaking, a window will open, that type of thing. Like it's like nature. It's like peaceful. That's what I think when I think of that. So
Let me see if I can find my initial definition I created.
it's pretty good. Hide of Hope says religion has specific rules that don't seem to deviate. I feel like that's putting God in a box. Religion kept me away from God for a long time. If you follow these rules, you'll be right with God. I couldn't get in line with the churches and religion, but Southern Baptist was every church around here, so I felt judged all the time. Yeah, for sure.
I can see that for sure. Let's see. I'm going to find this definition of spirituality I created about a year ago. And
all right, you look for that. Hi, Belle. Belinda, do you want to go by Belle? Belinda, what do you want to go by?
We can go by Belle. That works.
All right, Steve it is.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
Love it. I'm good. How are you guys doing tonight?
Oh, we're trying to talk about shit like we know what we're talking about, like we do every time we get on here. But we just ask my best friend, Mr. Scott P. XRP. I know nothing. So
yeah, me. So I'm right there with you. Like as I tell most people, like I'm just winging it. Like for the most part, like fly little birdie fly. Like we're gonna make it through.
Yeah. So we're talking a little bit of everything, but we've been kind of talking about just kind of read the definition of spirituality and religion, and we don't really have a direction other than we know that this can be a speed bump into recovery for people. Like when they feel
100%.
like, when you go into like an AA meeting specifically, there's a lot of God, even though they try to tell you that there is not God. And that's really hard for somebody like me to get into. And again, that's just what AA is based off of. That's just and that's worked for a lot of people. But for me, it was really hard to wrap my mind around like, okay, so I gotta believe this in order for this to work. Ugh.
Yeah, I have to say, so I worked at a residential treatment facility that was very abstinent based, very 12-step based all across the way. And for me walking in there as a person in recovery and as a professional now they say, it was kind of crazy because I don't have that religious connection. To me, religion, when I hear religion, I hear hypocrisy. And that's just my personal view take. Like, I don't mean to offend anybody. Like, if you have religion, amazing. If it works for you, rock on. Like, love it. Like, whatever works for you. But for me, that was a thing that I didn't even understand at all. And I had a lot of clients that didn't connect with it either. So trying to get people in treatment to kind of buy into the whole, like, we're going to do step work and we're going to do this and we're going to say the serenity prayer, 5 times a day was not an easy task.
Yeah. I can completely relate to that.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things for me is I was kind of like, no, I get it. Me too. Like, and we had a great teacher that came in and did spirituality. Great guy. His name is Richard McCoy from up in Lac du Flambeau, Native American guy, just amazing. And he would come in and teach spirituality. And really what he taught was whatever works for you, whatever your definition is. And it was amazing to see how much that changed people's viewpoints.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have to be necessarily that deity, that God, that you're going to church every day. It can be the sunset, the wind going through your hair, the smell of the lake when you're out fishing, like whatever it is for you. For me, like, I'm an ancient alien girl. Okay. I love that stuff. I believe in that whole cosmic thing, like universal energy. It ebbs, it flows. It's mysterious. It works for me.
Well, and see, I think an important distinction to make here is that there's a difference between religion and spirituality, and there's also a difference between what spirituality is and how you practice spirituality. So what I was trying to find earlier, and Scott, I sent it to you in the DM. I don't know if there's any way you can post it, but my personal definition of spirituality is an individual's search for personal growth and transformation through careful study and understanding of their deepest values and beliefs so that they may discover their ultimate meaning and purpose in life. Now,
that's beautiful.
To me, that is the That is the mission statement of what spirituality is. And then we all go through it 1,000, infinite number of ways, just like sobriety. I think this to me is the crux of where people get hung up, is that they equate spirituality with your own understanding of creation, where we come from, how we got here. And to me, while that's not religion, that is different from spirituality and what you practice in that role. So I'm with you. I don't subscribe to a lot of traditional thinking and a lot of things. So.
Yeah, definitely. No, I love really how you put that and how you broke that apart, because I think that is a lot of things that people get hung up on. Like, where did we come from? What is that historical, scientific type of definition?
Yeah.
I'd get a lot of people that I work with, and I myself am a little intellectual at times, who want to try to outthink it and are chasing something that, quite frankly, I don't even know fully what that all means for me. Spirituality, connection, that ultimate kind of thing. Like, if I don't know what that is, like, how can I move forward with it?
Right. Absolutely. So I think everybody, like we started the conversation off with earlier, is everybody should at some point in their life question their beliefs on religion and faith, find out what's behind that and why you believe that or why you don't believe that, start discovering or figuring out what it is you do believe. And then at the same time, you can kind of, you start to develop a practice of your spirituality. So I see what you're trying to do there, Scott. Just take the quotations out. That'll get the E in there.
That'll get me in there. I've been doing it for about a minute here. That's all right. I got it copied. I'm going to post it on X. I'm going to tag Adam in it if you want to see it. So I was doing that. So I kind of.
No, you're good. Appreciate it.
There we go. Post it on X. All right.
Repost that article. That was good.
All right. So now that I've posted 1,000 times in through here. Okay. So I'm sorry if this isn't on topic, but there was something that I thought of as I was going through and copying and paste that. When I was in my third treatment, and I'd went through the first round at this place, and then I came back the second time, and it was nearing the end when I was going to go from residential into sober living. I kind of like, I kind of just, I said, you know what, fuck it. I believe there's God. I just don't know. And this is kind of what Haida Hope says, my understanding. I'm like, I believe that there's something out there. Because what happened, I went outside and I mentioned a rock earlier. Like, I found this rock. I'm like, whoa, this rock doesn't belong with these other rocks. It's just sticking out. This is a sign. And so I ended up talking about that in this residential treatment. And I got pulled up in front of the entire, like, all the dudes and all the chicks. We're all in for a lecture, and they're like, this guy right here used to be a hardened atheist. And even he now has agreed that there is a God of his understanding or whatever. And I was like, I'm standing up there. I'm like, you just made me want to be like, no, I didn't. I'm going back.
Yeah.
I'm going, shoot. I don't want to have anything to do with this. And it's like,
no, what I said was there was a weird coincidence about.
Yeah. What happened was,
like, all of a sudden the wooies started. Yeah.
Well, I was miserable and desperate, and I didn't want to go back to the way I was living. And so I chose to just grasp onto anything that I could grab onto and try to make it mine. And so this is what other people are doing. This is what everybody tells me. Well, guess what? These motherfuckers aren't doing this either. They're saying they're doing it. You know what I mean? Like, I truly believe, like, I'm not calling everybody liars. I'm just saying I think we fluff it a little bit to make it sound good, right? Like, that's why I love it when we talk honestly about recovery. And, like, I'm fucking having a shit day. And if I knew that I wouldn't fall off the wheels, I'd have a drink today. That's real to me.
Yeah.
Oh, I've never been fucking happier since I quit drinking or using. I've never been happier since I went through the steps 77 times with my sponsor. This is just, my life is so perfect and great. I have no complaints. Bullshit.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so now I kind of went off. I went off on my own thing there, but I just you can't fake it to make it. You can fake it, but that's the same as you're just doing the same thing you did in recovery when you weren't taking it serious, right? You were just like,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But to kind of I guess piggyback on that, you know, if you take spirituality to mean your own personal quest for kind of bettering your soul, if you will, and you combine that with wanting or at least desiring to have the ability to influence your own thoughts and behaviors, and to have faith in those abilities in your thoughts and your behaviors, then I think they go hand in hand. And I think that's where spirituality allows you to make leaps and bounds in your sobriety and in your recovery. Personally, I don't believe this is where I'm like, Scott, I can't get on board. I can't believe in it because it never worked for me, by just praying to a higher power. It's like, please don't let me drink today. Putting faith, like, please don't let me drink today. I'm not gonna, if I drink, then obviously I did something wrong, because the whole concept of a higher power is that they're omnipotent and omniscient, right? So, I don't know. For the longest time, this is kind of how we started the conversation, was having this underlying stress and angst. It's like, I think too kind of logically sometimes for faith like that to sink in. And for the longest time, I always thought that I had some barrier up that I couldn't let down to allow faith in.
Yeah.
I finally realized, is like,
Yeah.
it's not that, it's not who I
am. They've created something that you can't touch, like that, and you can't blame for anything. They created, like, religion has created this thing where if your life goes to shit, you didn't pray hard enough, you didn't do something hard enough, you didn't do something,
that's hard
because
enough.
It couldn't be this thing that you're putting on a pedestal. And the same thing with AA. It's not the program. You weren't working it hard enough.
Yeah.
So,
and what a way to, like, seal in those thoughts of, like, self-doubt and, like, you're not good enough and you really are that bad egg. Like, there's something wrong with you.
God can't even help you.
Right?
Yeah, God can't even help you. How terrible
abandon
is
all
that?
hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How terrible
might as well just
is
do
that?
the same shit I was doing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Might as well. Like,
might as well.
Just as a side note, the individual, Scott and Bell, sorry, we're here, but the individual we were talking about right before we went live, when then he's kind of fragile right now. I really wanted to post and say, like, you hear a lot of times in the rooms, like, you keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting to get a different result. So why don't you just decide to do it our way now? And I'm like, so you're telling me this dude is sitting here and he's like, all right, I'm back to starting over again. This is, time number 10. Maybe I'll work the program harder. I want to be like, seems like you're doing the same thing over and over again and not getting a different result.
Expecting different results. Yes. Well done.
Do we not see the irony here?
I love that. I love that.
But sorry, that's my own.
Right.
That's
100%.
That's going in my backpack.
Me too, because I can't tell you the number of times I wish I would have had that right there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So one thing in these things that we're talking about, I feel like are setting people up to be set back. I think that's what's happening here when it doesn't work out. You're told that this is the way to do it, and then you well, you did it wrong. You did it wrong. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. Something like I truly believe in the power of positivity, man. When people walk into my office where I do the intakes, I do 95% of the intakes for our place, and it's a really great position for a recovery coach to be in because I get to meet everybody. I get to meet everybody that comes into our building. And the one thing that works for everybody every time, and every time I tell them that, I mean it with all my heart. You did everything that you could do today for your recovery. You decided to get help. You walked in these doors. You filled out the paperwork. You have an appointment. Go home and rest. And these people that are coming here that look like crap, just, and that, the look on their face like, holy shit, I did get this done. I am doing something about myself today, all that stuff, and then, I got this, I got to go to court on this day, or I got to do this. And I'm like, yeah, guess what? If you choose to, that can be the last time you ever have to go to court. This can be the last time that you ever have to go to jail, if you choose it to be. Like, and that just, we don't think that way when we're in the thick of it. I know I didn't. You can't think in that positivity. So you come in, you walk in, and you go to this meeting, and the first thing they say is, I'm powerless. My life is unmanageable. I got defects. I got shortcomings. I can't do this on my own. Something else greater than me has to do it. And most of the people believe that this thing that's greater than me is not tangible, or you can't see it with your eyes, and you can't touch it. You can't go actually have a conversation with it. And that's the way that I'm supposed to get. It's just really tough. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I 100% agree with you. I have seen so many people walk into treatment and walk into their first group and just get beaten with it. You know what I mean? And I've seen way too many people walk out the doors that way. And it's one of the reasons why I kind of switched up professionally where I was and what I was doing, because, I'm an addict, and you know what? I'm not sorry anymore, to some degree. You know what I mean? Like the shame and the guilt and everything else I've carried around for how many years, like, I'm done with it to a point. You know what I mean? Like, new person, new life, new energy, new focus. And I get to now clinically encourage people and celebrate every small victory, and talk with them and give them encouragement instead of being like, well, you did it wrong, now let's go back and focus on this, and take it to somewhere which is just so unrealistic for that person. You know what I mean? People need that support in a certain way. And I'm not saying like, I'm going to hold your hand and walk you through this. That's not my job, to a point. You know what I mean? Physically and literally. But I'm going to be there to celebrate every freaking hour that you make it, every day that you make it. Okay, I saw you this week, and I'm going to see you next week. And guess what? You haven't had a use or an occurrence. Party in my office. Like, we're down. Like, that is one of the most exciting things I've ever heard. Yeah. And I get to do a lot of even telehealth now and just counseling over the phone. And I'll tell you what, to have that positivity, people can hear that smile in your voice. And when you give that smile in your voice back to the people you're working with, and then you can hear it come back in theirs, like that little bit of positivity, that little bit of energy that you're able to give back somebody, and they can make it. You know what I mean? They can make it for one more day, one more hour, whatever they need.
Would you say you're lifting their spirits?
I think I would.
So what the kickback that I know that Adam and I get, and I'm sure you do too, Belle, is people will say, you can't treat everybody with kid gloves. Mm-hmm. This is life or death. You cannot just act as if everything is okay. I have seen people fucking die from this disease, and coddling them is not going to do anything. Where is the line where you don't pick their spirits up and you got to drop them down?
Yeah.
I have to say that is just about as individual as the person in the situation. Sometimes you really just have to read the moment and know if it's the moment to challenge them and to kind of go at them a little bit and give them that reality check, or if it's the moment where you're like, you know what? Sometimes we slip and fall on our damn face, but guess what? You got up and you're sitting in this chair right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's where humanity comes in, and experience and empathy and all that stuff. Because I can be polite and blunt. I can be gentle and ruthless, calm and excited, spiritual and practical. I can be consistent and spontaneous. Life is not the dichotomy and the duality that we're all taught that it is. Life is not black or white; it is black and white.
Yeah.
It's not one or two; it's one and two, and a whole bunch of everything in between. And one of the things that I talk about all the time is we think in terms of these opposites when in fact they're just different ends of a spectrum. So you got hot on one side and cold on the other. At what point does cold become hot? Well, it depends on your reference point, really.
Mm-hmm.
So you understand that everything exists on this spectrum, and that all you've got to do is zoom out. You completely change your view of life, and then your outlook on life. And to me, that is a spiritual principle. It's definitely not a religious one.
Yeah, I would agree.
So there's a therapist at work, and every time she has a new client, when she has to do an assessment, right? So you come in, you get your assessment done, and then there'll be recommendations based off the assessment. And then if you return, you do the treatment planning in the second visit. Her and I have had conversations about this, and she treats everybody the same when they come in. It's super polite. It's, you tell me, what's going on. I'll ask the questions. I'll dig a little bit. And then she's like, session 3 or 4, around then she starts calling bullshit. And that's because she now knows something about this fucking person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the biggest thing, right? So when you're playing keyboard warrior on X, like a douchebag XRP does, when you know nothing about anybody and you're coming in here with tough love, like they're supposed to respect you, like, and it's not just him. He's just a perfect example. Like he's actually like the upgraded example, like the mutated example. Like not everybody is this douchey. Like he's king of douchebags, but there are people that are a little like the prince douchebags. You get a little bit down the thing. There's some princes that are pretty consistent, and that's where we have these problems. But to think that you meet somebody on the street and you can go and be like, this is what you need to do. I know what's right for you, and you need to fucking do it. My God, you have so many problems to think that know this. And that's where, labels and these groups and these meetings and these things, like religions and stuff, that's where they get scary. And that's where the trouble starts, because they have the answers for everything. And if they're wrong, they're not wrong. It's because of something else.
Yeah. 100%. Oh my gosh. Real quick. Let me tell you this story. So I had when I was in residential, I had a client come in, young gentleman, and he came in and he's like, I don't think I can do this. And I was like, why? I was like, what's going on? He's like, you guys do this 12-step thing and the serenity thing. And he's like, I'm a Satanist. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay. All right. Well, legit, like, this is something I need to know, right? I was like, what do you want? What do you need? And he's like, I need something that aligns with what I believe in. Lo and behold, wouldn't you know it, there is a Satanist recovery tome out there published.
Yep.
But you should have seen some of the pushback I got using that material in that center.
I can believe it.
And I'm just like, look, if we're going to teach this and we're going to teach that and we're going to do this, and we have a large Native American population, so we did smudging and we did different cultural things. I was like, if we're going to make all these allowances and we're going to include everybody in their individuality, then this is something we need to do as well.
Absolutely.
Just because it's not what you believe in, or if it's not mainstream, like, I don't care. Like, I can believe a screwdriver is my higher power. I have found out that I am screwed and I cannot unscrew myself. Okay, like there's actually a whole series of those. I wish I had them all for you right now because it's snappy as hell. But it's very true. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what it is for you as long as it's something for you.
So, I mean,
connects with you, tangible for you.
God of your understanding, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so the problem, and this is the way I see it, working in the field now for a little over a year, is I think the higher ups, I don't know them, so this is just all speculation. But when they're out there fighting, we're a nonprofit, so it might have been different from where you're at. But you can't get government funding for treatment unless you're a 12-step program. Like you just can't do it. That's why there's so limited resources for other things, and that's what I want to kind of make the Sober Heathen, like, try to help find a way to make some of these other things more accessible. Because if you're not teaching, when I started, I was a month or two in, and they hired another recovery coach, and her and I were in my office talking, and the boss's office was right across the hall, and we started talking about AA and the things of why we don't go to it anymore and the things we don't like. And she's like, just remember, we're a 12-step facility. We get funding because we're a 12-step facility. And we're like, oh, well, we're just having this. Yeah, but people might hear it. And so I had to go shut the door. And it's like, okay, so, we can't have honest conversations. That's
troubling. There is something seriously wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to say, I recently got connected up with another company. I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy. His name is Dr. Adi Jaffe. He wrote a book called The Abstinence Myth. And I love it. The message that is put out there, recovery in whichever way works for you. I mean, realistically, we have, and I don't have statistics because I'm not a statistic person, but there are so many people out there that aren't getting services, that are afraid to go to services, that don't understand how services work. Like, we are missing out on a great population of people that need help because we are stuck in, I think, too many lines of cookie cutter type treatment.
Yeah.
And to me, that's probably the biggest injustice of all, because there's people dying. Like, you want to talk about the seriousness of death and dying in addiction and recovery, right there. The fact that we can't be more open as a whole system.
Yeah. Well, so, and I hope she's watching this, she's freaking bad. But I've kind of made it up. I've kind of made the decision in my head. I'm not going to parade around my office and say things, but my groups, and when I talk to people, like, it's all authentic. When my door's shut, I'm not catering to anything anymore. Like, I will tell people exactly how I feel about something. Again, this goes back to knowing somebody. So when they come in for the first time and they're asking me about AA, I tell them everything that I know about AA and the positives of it. I don't bring the negative in because I want them to go and try to find it for themselves. The moment I start going negative, I know for me, I'm shutting that option off in my head, and you never get anything. And AA got me started. So I'm never going to take that away from AA. And it was really good for me for a minute. And so, but once I get to know people, I'm telling them how it is, like how I really feel about things. And I've had conversations with people that were churchgoers, and I think we can get along and we can do that kind of stuff but anyway, I'm just over here running my Dan Miapper.
No, not at all. And I think that's that authenticity, you know what I mean? And I think to kind of bring it and wrap it back around, though, for us to be completely authentic, I think that spirituality definitely comes into play with it, because that sense, just kind of like what you were talking about before, Adam, finding your purpose, finding your values and your beliefs, and being that authentic person. And I think more of us really do need to find a way to connect with that.
Yep. I have recently changed this. I used to say that I think the key to easy sobriety is understanding the beliefs you have that allow you to drink. And I've kind of changed it over the last month or so. And I think it boils down more now to identifying and understanding who you are authentically and not covering that up.
Yeah, I would agree.
So those beliefs are part of your authenticity. So I think that was kind of like the surface level of it. I think getting the next level down is just understanding that you have to live who you are regardless of consequences that other people, judgments from others, how others perceive you, and just being authentic to yourself. That is what allows you to be free.
Yeah. And I think, I'll speak honestly for me. I think part of, my addiction came from trying so hard to hide who I was and who I wanted to be and trying to form into whatever was acceptable within my circumstances, So, yeah, that touches pretty deep.
Yep, I agree.
I think being around people with like-minded people and people looking for the same thing, being part of that group is a connection, and I think that's definitely a spiritual experience. Like, there's I'm a nerd, so I watch WWE, and sometimes when the crowd gets chanting in unison, singing a song or chanting the same thing, like, kind of get goosebumps. It's like, wow, man, there's 10,000 people in there. Yeah, you can't see me. They like, it's just it's an amazing thing. So I think, yeah, there is some spiritual thing to that. But I don't know, man. I think you create that connection, and then you come in and you have somebody start judging you and talking down to you, like losing that connection, like even worse.
You and Lindsay and I talked about this, man. It's probably been 8, 9, 10 months ago, talking about energy. And so, your body gives off electromagnetic energy. And when you get a whole bunch of people who in an arena are chanting the same thing, they're all excited about the same thing, and they're giving off energy, they all kind of get in sync with each other. And when that energy starts resonating, and it increases, and you feel that, because not only do you give off energy, your body's also an antenna for energy. So you pull that in as well. And when you get with somebody, you can literally feel somebody who is giving off bad vibes, or at least vibes that you perceive to be bad, because they're going to be different, and they're going to be in competition with the ones you're giving off. They're not going to be in sync. So to give you a really easy example, so musicians, and if you've ever been to a high school, college football game and seen a marching band, the marching band does their hardest to get everybody perfectly in tune with each other. All right. So A may be at 440 hertz, and they may try to tune up at the beginning to actually get the pitches right. Right before they go on the field, they're going to do another real quick tuning and make sure that they're as close as possible to each other as they can be. Because what makes them sound louder is when they're all blasting the exact same frequency. So when the notes come out of the horns, if one guy is 30 cents high and one guy is 30 cents low, they're both going to be blasting the same note, but it's going to be just a little off, and they're going to kind of counter each other out, cancel each other out. But if they get them exactly in line, then the more energy they put into that, the more amplitude will be in that energy, in that sound wave, the louder it's going to be, no matter how hard they blow. So the same thing happens when you get a whole bunch of people who are, they got some brain coherence going on, and they're giving off positive vibes, and they all get on the same frequency. The same thing happens.
Yeah.
Body and the mind is just amazing what it does.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with that. Like that energy and that vibe, and again, like we were saying about the antenna, just the absorption of that energy back in is incredible. Yeah.
But you can see it in sports teams sometimes too, like when they're all vibing on the same thing, like, and something happens in a game where like how the hell did that happen?
Crazy comebacks.
Yeah. The 04 Pistons beating the Lakers with Kobe and Shaq. Yeah, thank you. Great vibes on that team.
Yeah.
Cheat. All right. Well, what are you thinking? This has been pretty good. Bella, it's really nice to have you along here. We got 47 people listening. So,
oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and especially since the podcast has been kind of inconsistent, and there's a reason for that, and I think I mentioned it before. But so my hours changed not too long ago to 4:10s, and then my boys have been coming over more on the weekends, and then we had split weekends not too long ago where I had one, and then I had the other one the following weekend. So I've been pretty busy with far cooler things than the podcast. No offense, Adam. But yeah, it's been a really great summer for me. But man, this talk about like connection and like vibes, like, my mind and heart right now are vibing pretty damn good. I love doing this, and I love talking recovery, and this thing that I'm working on. I really hope I can present it at some time here. So with that, if anybody like has a list or you've been to a treatment center, or you've done some sort of off the wall thing that really helped you, like you went to a spa, or you went to this getaway, or anything like that you have that's helped you with your recovery, feel free to email thesoberheathen@yahoo.com, or send me a DM on X or Facebook, and let me know where you went and what you did, and I'm going to add it to this list. At the end of the day, I want to have this thing for, well, Adam's in Georgia and my buddy Rich is in Georgia. So my mind's eye had this like straight line from Michigan to Georgia. So we can start off by trying to help people from Michigan to Georgia. We'll tackle those two states and maybe some shit in between. I got some Illinois stuff, that's kind of on the way. So I just want to put a one-stop shop where you can come and you can ask and say, hey, what do you got for this state for this? And we can get it quick. I know the interweb is really good, but if we can get information from people that's actually been there and done that at these places and have a little more detail, we'll have a better understanding of what is really going on. So look forward to presenting that at some point.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
So
I'll send you some stuff from Wisconsin.
So, okay, perfect. This is a good question for both of you, because you just said summer's coming to an end. What's the temperature up there?
Oh, 70. It was. I don't remember what it was. It was 75 today.
That was the high?
That was a high. Yeah. We're coming off a week where it was like just the upper 80s, and then tonight 57. Oh, it's going to be beautiful sleeping weather. How's Georgia treating you down there?
Well, we had a high of
Sorry, go ahead, Mel.
It was 60 here today.
Oh, for the high?
60, 60 for a high, and it's getting down to a 50 tonight. High is 64 for tomorrow.
Oh my
God. T-shirt weather up here.
It was let me see. My low today was 83, and the high was 98 with, it didn't give me the humidity. Oh, I'm sorry, with 68% humidity.
Okay.
That's like taking a shower outside.
Hi, Lonnie.
You can have it. You can have it.
I call that knife and fork weather, because you got to chew your air.
Yeah. We're getting old. We got cheesy sayings, but I like it.
Right.
Very good.
Lonnie says it's 97 in Texas. God bless Texas. If you believe in that kind of thing.
What part of Texas? Yeah.
See what I did with it? See what I did there?
Yeah. You believe in it? God bless Texas.
Well, this is a lot of fun. I like doing panel things to get perspectives. One of these days we'll do a panel where somebody completely disagrees with us, and it'll be a fun conversation, because I like to learn. And that's what I'm hoping for, to have people come on and disagree so I can learn.
Yep.
So
very cool. Very cool.
I'm down with spicy. So
yeah, let's get red hot, man. Let's get.
Oh man, I got a guy for you if you want to have some debates going on.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah, he's a peach. We call him Chocolate Thunder up here.
Oh
so
yeah.
That's my friend Richard from the treatment center. So he is amazing guy. Is some very personal thoughts on addiction and recovery himself. I mean, I think he's on 13 years,
Mhm.
13 or 14 now.
Oh, good for him.
But yeah, um, he's very entertaining, though, to say the least.
Well, it's an option. Maybe we can have him team up with XRP, and we can have a good old time.
There we go.
Real quick, isn't it funny how some people will use the length of time you've been sober, the quantity, to qualify your sobriety, but they don't give a shit about the length of time you were in addiction.
Right.
Ah, yes.
It's like, what, you only drank for 6 months? It's like, yeah, dude, but it was like, I got to do something or we're going to be dead in 3 months. Yeah, but you only drank for 6 months, man.
Yeah.
I legit had people, I mean, that was obviously exaggeration, but I've had people say, like, oh, man, you only drank for 5 years? What are you talking about? Not talking to me. I've heard it said. Like, 5 years? What was that? I've been sober and drunk longer than you've been alive.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one before.
That's what I feel like. I feel like this guy that we mentioned, that I won't say his name again, I feel like he was just sitting at home bored and then would have a 6-pack over a month span, and then he was like, I have no friends, and went to a meeting and is like, oh my god, I found it, I quit drinking, I was drinking 1 beer a night. Anyway, now I'm being a juvenile, but it's just how I feel, you know what I mean? Like, you
gotta share how you feel.
He's just a petty little prick, and I'm gonna bring him up because I want to. You know what? Here's the thing. Like, he's all over this guy out there that just had a relapse. He's sending links already, torturing this poor soul. I'm gonna talk about douchebags when they're douchebags, and I'm gonna make it known to people because fuck it. That's why. Like, sitting back and keeping my mouth shut when it comes to recovery, and this is a very serious thing. If you're going to go out there and push people to the point where they're getting upset on social media, I'm not going to just let it go, and I'm not going to just block the guy and let him roam freely. Like, fuck him. But anyway, so we're all the way up to 55, 56 people now listening. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. Maybe that's something that we can talk about, length of sobriety. I want to do more of these. So if either one of you want to do it again this weekend, let me know. I'm going to be on here either way, probably. And I'd like to set a schedule at some point, man, because get a consistent schedule where we can do this thing, and who knows what can happen, right?
Exactly. I love it. Sounds great.
All right. Thanks, Adam.
Adios.
Adios. Nice talking to you guys.
All right. Good night, everybody. Bye, Lonnie.
Bye, Lonnie.